Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our new unit. We are moving on to digestion, so the structure and function of the organs in our digestive system and the path our food takes. So the main idea is that we eat in order to get nutrients from our food. So the purpose of our digestive tract is to break down our food or the macromolecules into their monomers so that they are small enough to be absorbed by our cells for us to live. So 3 types of macromolecules that we're going to talk about is starch, so like our hamburger bun. Starch is going to be broken down into glucose. And then we have protein, like in our meat of our hamburger. It's going to be broken down into amino acids. And then we have the lipids, so like the oil that's used to deep fry our fries. And these are going to be broken down into 3 fatty acids and a glycerol. And we begin our journey in the mouth on the next slide. So in our mouth we have teeth for physical digestion, and our teeth crush and chew and grind our food in order to increase the surface area of our food. And the increased surface area allows our saliva to chemically digest it. So our saliva, or our salivary amylase, is the enzyme, and it is going to chemically digest our food. And so its main function is to break down carbohydrates. So carbohydrate digestion starts in the mouth. No other macromolecules are going to be broken down in the mouth, only carbohydrates. So we have our carbohydrate starch. Another word for it is amylose. And it is going to be broken down by our salivary amylase into maltose. And maltose is a disaccharide, if I could spell, it's probably not even spelled right, of glucose. And later in our digestive tract, maltose is going to be broken into glucose. So we have our moistened food. So the food is moistened with our saliva, and this is now called a bolus. And our tongue is going to move our bolus to the back of our mouths to be swallowed. Swallowing on the next slide. So our tongue pushes our bolus to our esophagus, and we're going to have a little flap called our epiglottis, and this flap is going to cover our trachea so that we are not inhaling our food into our lungs. So epiglottis covers our trachea, bolus moves into our esophagus. Now the bolus travels down our esophagus by peristalsis, which are muscular contractions. It does not move down by gravity. It moves down by our circular muscles contracting, so you can see in this animation, our muscles contract and it slowly inches its way down. This keeps occurring until it reaches your esophageal sphincter, or you may see it as your cardiac sphincter. Now this sphincter is like a valve, and it is going to open to let the food into your stomach. And the stomach is on the next slide. So we said here is our esophageal sphincter. It's going to open so that our bolus can move into our stomach. Now our stomach is very muscular, and it is lined with mucus. Mucus is super important for the protection of our stomach walls. So in our stomach we have gastric juices, we have enzymes, and we have hydrochloric acid. So now hydrochloric acid has a very low pH, so it's very acidic. And this acidity can eat away at the stomach walls and create a hole in our stomach if we didn't have mucus to protect our stomach from the acidity. So we have HCl in our stomach to activate pepsinogen to turn it into pepsin. So pepsinogen is a precursor enzyme, and it requires the hydrochloric acid in order to activate it to turn into pepsin, and pepsin is our enzyme that is going to break down proteins. So key here, protein digestion begins in the stomach. There are no fats and no carbs are digested in the stomach. Only proteins are digested in the stomach. The bolus turns into chyme, and the chyme is going to exit by the pyloric sphincter. So our second sphincter at the end of our stomach going to open to allow us into the small intestine, which is where we go on our next slide. Now that we're in our small intestine, this is where the rest of the molecules are digested. So the rest of molecule digestion. You have your carbohydrates, which was maltose, broken down in your mouth, and these are going to be broken down into glucose. Proteins, or polypeptides, were broken into peptides, which are basically very small units of more than one amino acid. And now in the small intestine, broken down even further into their individual amino acid units. More lipids, first time that they are being digested, and they are going to be broken down into their 3 fatty acids and their 1 glycerol. So now that they're in their monomers, they can be absorbed. So in the small intestine, this is where absorption of the monomers occurs. And we also have pancreatic juice in our small intestine, and our pancreatic juice are for neutralization. So we have the pH of our chyme coming out of our stomach is very low and acidic, and the small intestine does not have mucus to protect it from the acidity. Therefore, it has the pancreatic juice to neutralize the chyme so that the small intestine isn't affected. We're going to continue with the small intestine on the next slide. So we said the small intestine is for absorption of the monomers, and we can do this through finger-like projections called the villi, or villus for singular. So looking at the diagram down here, here are our villi. So if you draw them out, this is what they would look like. And they are lining our small intestine to increase the surface area for absorption. So increased surface area means more absorption, and that's why they're in our villus. That's why the villi are in our small intestine. Max surface area for maximum absorption. And two things are going to be absorbed: glucose and amino acids. Glycerol and fatty acids are going to be absorbed in our lymphatic system, which we are going to go into further detail later. And for now, small intestine absorbing glucose and amino acids. Now we're into our large intestine, last but not least, and everybody's favorite. In the large intestine, this is where water is absorbed back into our blood to be used by our body. So water absorption is the key function of the large intestine. Two things that can occur: too much absorption, and this results in constipation. Now, constipation occurs when you have a lack of fiber in your diet, and this means you have a lack of solutes in your mass. And water, we know, flows by osmosis, so it's going to flow from a high concentration to a low concentration, leaving you constipated. Another thing that can occur is too little water is absorbed, And this can happen when you're nervous and your muscles are contracting a lot more, and it's not giving your body enough time to absorb the water, which results in, you guessed it, diarrhea. Now, there's a bacteria in our large intestine that inhabits it, and this is E. coli. And E. coli is going to synthesize vitamin K. Vitamin K plays a key role in blood clotting, amongst other things. Once our mass is in our large intestine, it enters our rectum for storage of our feces, and then our anal sphincter, which is our third sphincter that we're talking about, contracts, and our feces can enter our anus, where it can be released. So that is our pathway. Key ideas, obviously the pathway and the structures and functions of the organs in that pathway, but also the macromolecules. So the macromolecules, we're wanting to know where are they digested and where are they absorbed. So we talked about starch being digested in the mouth and the small intestine, the protein digested in the stomach and the small intestine, and our lipid is being digested in just our small intestine. Absorption, where does it occur? In our small intestine by our villi. Awesome. If you have any questions, please bring them to class. We would love to discuss them. And we'll see you on Monday.